On today's episode of TLC Hot Topics, we'll be speaking with a nationally recognized leader in one of the country's largest corporations who's having a direct impact on the Latino community. Stick with us. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to TLC Hot Topics. We're really excited to have you join us again today. I'm your host, Danny Vargas, National Director at the Latino Coalition. In addition to these podcasts where you will get to hear from inspiring guests, we also have a series of webinars where you'll learn great information on how to run your business and how to become more successful. I'm pleased to introduce our guest speaker today, Celeste Carrasco. Celeste is a Director of Federal Public Affairs for AT&T. As such, she's responsible for executing national strategies that achieve corporate, legislative, and regulatory objectives, presenting company positions to key stakeholders on important issues, and managing community partnerships with nonprofit organizations in the Latino corporate social responsibility and consumer advocacy communities. Celeste was honored as City Year Idealist of the Year in 2015 and was honored to receive the Hermana Award in 2016 by Mana organization. She's also been the recipient of the President's Volunteer Service Award multiple years running. All recognitions highlight her passion for volunteerism and commitment to the communities she represents. A dynamic and engaging leader, Celeste is a coalition builder at heart, always looking for ways to partner, engage, and execute plans. Celeste possesses extensive experience in leading diverse and large teams in network operations and customer care organizations. And more importantly, she's such a dear friend, not only to the Latino Coalition, but to me personally. Celeste, thank you so much for joining us, my friend.
Oh my God, no, the pleasure is all mine. Someday I hope to have an intro as long as your intro would be. But everybody that's listening already knows what an amazing leader you are, and it's a great honor for me to be here.
Thank you so much. Well, why don't we get started? We'll take a few minutes to tell us about I know your journey, but such an interesting pathway that you've taken to get to where you are, such an important leadership role that you have at the national level. But take us on a brief description of your personal journey to get here.
Oh, yes. So, it's one of those things that I love to share it because the one thing that I want to emphasize is that we don't all walk the same path. And I could only share mine so that others may say, hey, she went about it this way. Maybe I might be able to implement something similar and achieve some of the results that I am looking for. So that's the reason why I love sharing this story. So, as a child of immigrants, my parents brought me to this country when I was 13 years old. And it was tough. It was tough adapting. I completely understand, the children of immigrants that have to adapt to a whole new environment. But it gives us skill sets that are uniquely positioned to allow us to pivot during tough situations. I never realized that when I was growing up, that all these things that I was learning as a young adult were going to come in so handy much later down in life. So what a great gift it is to have such a diverse background, to be able to sit there and go through these learning experiences. And 13 years old, you're in a new country, you're learning a new language and new systems, new environment. Everything is thrown at you all at once, and you succeed and you adapt, right? Maybe it's adapt and succeed is in the other order. But the beauty of it is we're resilient. We, immigrants are extra resilient. Not that everybody else is not, but we get thrown these learning opportunities. And as I was going through high school and then eventually college, when things got tough, I had to learn to adapt. And that really gave me skill sets that came in incredibly handy during my adulthood. I was hired, I went to Rutgers University for my undergrad. I was hired straight out of graduation to go join AT&T. And it was such a gift. I mean, I was doing customer service, and if you do the math, I've been with AT&T for 25 years. And it's like I'm a what we call a lifer. So I've been here all this time. I'm not looking to leave AT&T. This has been a great partnership between the company and I, in which they give me what I need and I give them what they need, and it's one of these things that I'm so grateful for all the opportunities that they have given me, including additional education. So I got my master's, actually a master and a half, because I have a master's certificate and a master's that AT&T encouraged me to get. And that has allowed me to advance my career, to advance my opportunities. And again, you might be like, oh my God, 25 years. How could you do the same thing over and over again? Well, let me tell you, it has never been the same thing for more than 2 or 3 years. This has been the job that I probably held the longest, because it has been the longest ramp up that I needed to do in order to learn what I was doing, because it was so outside my level of expertise. But AT&T believed that I had the core skills to develop this job, and I love it. I mean, I do public affairs. I didn't go to school for public affairs. It was just it was a gift of development that my organization gave me and said, we think you can do this. We think, and the reason why they do that is because I have raised my hand before, and I have said, hey, I want to do things that are not necessarily in my wheelhouse, but I want to learn, and I feel comfortable with change. I feel comfortable with environments of uncertainty, and all of those things have ended up being my core strengths within the corporation, and what have landed me where I am today.
So I really want to dive deeper into a couple of things that you brought up. But before we go any further than that, you talked about coming here when you were 13, but you didn't mention from where.
Oh my God. It's like, I'm trying to keep it tight, right? It's like Argentina. So my family is originally from Argentina. We're far away, right? We're far away from this country. It's about 12,000 kilometers. I know it's a 12-hour flight. So it's not around the corner. It wasn't something that we could just like pack up and say, oh, we're going to go see my grandparents for the weekend. I mean, it really was an uprooting, a change, a complete commitment to the new world that my parents wanted to search for us. They really came here. This is a land of opportunity for us, for the next generation. So when I hear a lot of the conversations that are going on about people looking for a land of opportunity, a land, of new beginnings, I completely understand what they're talking about, because I am that representation of new beginnings.
And I wanted to dive into that because I've been to Argentina. I love Argentina. I've been there many times, but you're right. It's so far away. People don't recognize, they think it's, similar time zones, so it can't be that far. No, but it's super far away. It's far away. How did your parents get to a point where they were like, okay, let's just pick up and move a 13-hour flight away to the United States? How did that happen?
Yeah. So my immigrant journey is a little different, right? Like, we didn't have, we had to get on a plane to get here. So, just the basic economics of that is a little bit different. You have, my parents were middle class, like, a good solid majority of Argentinians are, they're educated, middle class. And it was 1985. So the thing, it was still, it was a good economic time for the country and for my family, but my mom, who is, part bruja, a little bit of witch, she was like, I love what we have right now, but I don't see a future for you guys. So it was us. It was myself, 13 years old. My sister was 4 and my brother was 2. And, if you sit down and you have this conversation with her, she will tell you, she's like, I just looked around me. She's like, I'm surrounded by professionals, by people that have degrees, by lawyers, by doctors. It's like, but a doctor needed to have a gig in order to be able to sustain his lifestyle. So imagine, a lawyer, having to have a side business in order just to maintain his status quo as far as economics was concerned. So she started to see a downturn in the economy, and she's like, I don't see this as a good investment long term. So basically, they sold everything they owned, and we had people that we knew here, and they helped us get here. So it was like, it took a village to bring the Carrascos over to the United States.
What a leap of faith.
Yes.
My goodness. And you've made the absolute most of it. You're having such an incredible impact in the community. And, you talked a little bit earlier about, getting into different jobs within AT&T. You've been there for 25 years, but it's never been the same job for an extended time. But even doing that within a corporation, when you're getting into a new role, it's scary, right? Mm-hmm. Particularly if it's something you haven't done before, it's something you haven't studied before, it's that going into something new that can be incredibly frightening and challenging, but you did it. What gave you that sort of the will to have that courage to step into the unknown?
So we're going to get into the conversations of what opportunities are available to us, right? So as a person of color, even though, I can pass as not being a person of color, I am a person of color. I have an accent. The minute I open my mouth, you know that I'm a person of color. So it really does, I grew up with this like thing of, you make lemons out of lemonade type of thing. So you basically do the best that you can with what you have. And so opportunities for women. So let's just start at the very top. So opportunities for women are less than other opportunities. And opportunity for people of color are less than other people and for women. And then for opportunities for women of color are even less than opportunities for men of color and white women and just black white men. So when you are at the one of the lower rungs of that scale, you kind of have to create your own door, right? Because there's just no door marked, hey, Latinas, come in here. Like, especially not 25 years ago or any of the journey that I had taken. So I kind of had to figure out, hey, what's available for me? Where can I step up and say, I'm going to take that. I'm going to do that. So I realized that, and again, I'm not dissing on my company because I think it's just situational and it's just about, the opportunities. And we have all grown through this, right? So AT&T is a great place to work, but we've had our growing pains. We've all learned that opportunities were not always given equally with equity across the opportunities to the right to everybody. So I always stepped up and I said, I'll take that, either because nobody knew how to do it and I was willing to learn, or it was like the worst job available. Nobody wanted that project. And I decided, you know what? Nobody wants it. I'm going to go take it and run with it. So it really is making the best out of the opportunities, no matter how small these opportunities are, just taking them and run with them. Sometimes, unfortunately, that was all we could get. And, but it's not about complaining. I never, and I think this comes for the immigrant piece of me, right? I was always grateful for everything that I got, no matter how small, because I realized that it was a sacrifice that my parents had made to give up. Different people give up different things. My parents gave up their life, their careers, their family, and all those things. So everything that I had was going to be like, I'm going to make the best of it. I have, it's kind of like I have to make the best of this because so much was invested, so much was given up on somebody else's lives so that I could have this opportunity. So you better believe it. I'm going to take it and I'm going to run and I'm going to make the best of it. So that's how it came about.
Wow. You mentioned a word there that really clicked something. One of the speeches that I give to young people a lot of times is, I call it the doors speech, because they ask me, well, what's the secret? How'd you get to? I said, well, one of the key things is that, as you go through life, you go down a hallway and at some point you come across a set of doors and you have to figure out which door to open to go to another hallway. And I describe those doors as, the D is for drive, determination, hard work, right? The first O is about being open-minded, always be learning. The second O is about having an outstanding character and trying your best to do the right thing. And even if when you fail, you pick yourself up and keep moving. The R is for resilience, that resilience word that you talked about. And then the S is about support, not only supporting others, which you really should do, but also letting others support you, because no person is an island, right? So I love the way you describe using the word doors, because a lot of times folks get to that set of doors and they freeze because they're too scared to open a door because they're afraid of what's on the other side. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges, making sure that you find a way to be able to capture that spirit of courage to open the door, because courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite the fear, right? But now you're opening doors for others in your role, right?
Yeah.
Can you dive a little bit deeper into what you're doing in your role at AT&T to make sure that those communities of color are seeing opportunities, are seeing ways to be able to have a better future through what AT&T is doing in the community?
So I'll share my latest. So my latest one is internal to AT&T, and I'm happy to share after that what I do externally. But this is like near and dear to my heart, because I realized that I wasn't doing it as intentional as I am doing it now. So we have this development program that we are working through our employee resource group, and it's an executive leadership education program, and I am one of their madrinas. And this has been, I never realized how big of a mental block we have as Latinas, and how impactful that mental block is, to your point about, these doors and not wanting to run through it, that I decided to basically start doing like this mentor, I'm a madrina for a group of 5, and then I do like one-on-one, which I'm going to call therapy sessions, because that's really what they are. They're therapy sessions. It's about talking to them about, it's like they want to hear that they have permission to do things, and then we have to remove that roadblock. So not only I give you permission, but I also give you permission to get rid of that, belief that you need permission to do these things. That the imposter syndrome, like even after they decide to take these jumps is overwhelming. The work-life balance, the sometimes is our own community and our own families being the biggest hindrance to our success, because they're like, oh, are you sure, mija? You're doing so well here. Are you sure you want to take that risk? It's our own fears on top of these kids or young people that want to take risks. We kind of like, we hold them back. So there are all these like issues that I see that are popping up, that are so the corporations are doing their work. They're like, hey, here are these opportunities. We're removing our systemic issues that, would have prevented you from getting these opportunities. And we are absolutely immobilized on the other side of the door and saying, like, they're like, it's open. We put a slide in, come on in. And nope, we're still not jumping, especially Latinas. So I've been committed to doing this one-on-one work with Latinas that is basically like, come on, let's just get you through this emotional, blockage that we have collectively. And I'm going to get you through it. And I hope that then you are going to get another person through it, and so on, so on and so forth. And together we can create a new generation of Latinas that feel a little bit more empowered, a little bit more assertive, a little bit more ready to take these opportunities. So that's internal. External, I do a lot of work. including yourself, the great work that you have been doing with Latino veterans. Time, commitment, and effort is what I consider to be the most valuable thing that I bring to the table. It's about elevating. It's about making sure that people, people know what it is, the work that we are doing as a community. So sometimes I do that work for AT&T, but sometimes I pitch it to other organizations, right? I've done it for financial industry. I've done it for the energy industry. I've done it, and it's about being that that cheerleader. Like, we need to stop putting boundaries as to who and what it is that we support. We need to start elevating each other and saying, you know what, so-and-so has a great program for Latinos. You need to go see what it is that they're doing. And then, if we are not, because I happen to have an AT&T hat on, I am not going to, I'm not going to prevent somebody else from benefiting from that benefit. And then I'm going to take that, I'm going to go back to my company and be like, hey, look what they're doing. They're doing great. They're doing fantastic. Can we emulate something similar so that we can elevate the community as well? Right. So it's not about saying like, this is my sandbox and this is what I play. It's about, as a community, we need to rise together. And the more that I know that this is exactly how you think, because I've learned a lot of these, mantras from you. But the reality is, it's like, sometimes we forget, right? We always, we have this knee jerk reaction of, oh, it's what I need to do, or I need to prioritize what no, we can all rise when the community rises. So that's the kind of work that I do. So, and I just love doing it, and it really fills my tank.
You know what? I don't think I will ever get the visual out of my mind of what you described earlier with what you're doing with the Latinos inside the company, of you pushing them into the pool. As I'm standing at the edge of the pool, looking at the water, should I jump in? And you're like, you just push them in. I love
You're not the
visual.
first one that has that vision with me and how I act. They usually say that it's a kick.
That too. I just want to, I know we don't have that much time left, but I do want to make sure I ask you one or two other questions. One, of the initiatives that AT&T is doing out there, what do you think is going to be the most impactful in the coming couple of years in terms of impacting the Latino community or minority communities in general?
Removing the systemic barriers that are internally, have been built. I mean, the company's 140 years old. So something is gotta remain from other times. So the whole idea is identifying these things and reworking them so that they no longer create barriers to opportunity, but rather they encourage opportunity. Because, some of the what I consider to be some of the smartest people I have ever encountered have come from backgrounds of, like incredibly diverse. Like, they've never been a homogeneous set. So when you open your eyes and you just look across a room full of really smart people, you're going to see a rainbow of race, of sex, of gender, of age, because everybody brings something amazing that it's uniquely tailored from them. And so the more that these systems embrace that knowledge, the more successful we are going to be. And we are going to benefit from that understanding, just because the fact that we are diverse, we are the diverse component that hasn't historically been included. But we bring so much to the table, and it's not about mitigating who we are. On the contrary, you need to figure out how unique you are and how that translates into the workspace. Like in my case, like I gave you the example of how resilient I am, because I happen to have had to transition from, one country to another and learn a new language and do all these, back then they weren't called pivots, but I had to do like all these pivots back. And that has they shaped who I am as a person, and they shaped who I am as an executive. So another person may have looked at it and be like, well, I didn't grow up here. I didn't have to struggle, It's like, it doesn't matter. Everybody has their own journey. And the whole idea is to understand how that journey has brought us who you are today and that particular skill set that only you can bring to the table.
It's such a wise observation. And before I finish with the last question, I did have one more question for you that ties into a lot of what you talked about, but also you've got a sign behind it that says the word inspire. And I know one of the other jobs that's incredibly important to you, that's probably more important than your job at AT&T, is that of being a mom. So Tell us about what kind of what kind of life lessons you're teaching your daughter?
Oh, my goodness. The first one is that family is at the center of everything that I do. I'm a single mom, so having a family that supports me, and they are my network. They are the reason why I'm successful. I could even say they are the reason why I'm a successful mom. Without having, my mom, my dad, my sister, even my nephews who pitch in sometimes to either teach Daisy how to do something. Daisy is my daughter's name. That teach her how to do something. We understand the importance of that. Think of it as a connecting net, right? Like if we're all like this, you can't hold much. But the minute that you start interconnecting these pieces, you can support a lot of weight. And I think that's how we connect with each other, and it's not just Daisy. It's like I support everybody and they support me. And that's the beauty. That's another piece of the puzzle that makes us, and not that other cultures are not family centric, but I think Latinos in particular are very family centric. And we have extended family. Even before extended family was cool, we had the extended family, right? We were like the primos, the cousins, the tias, the tios, and everybody. And it's like, think about it. You need to move, right? Something as simple as that. Somebody may have to pay $10,000 for a move. For you, it'll be beer and a pizza, right? For everybody in the family. And that's the network that makes us successful. As long as you know how to leverage your network, you will be able to accomplish the things that you need to accomplish. And in my case, it has been being a mom, and greatest gift ever to be able to be a mom and be an executive at the same time. I don't think I would have. I can say with 100% certainty that I would not be an executive if I didn't have my parents' support, because I would have to made some choices. And I know that a lot of people have to make choices, and I respect that. I respect that, and but I was lucky. I was lucky that I have my family that is healthy to support me, and I thank them every single day. But she, at the core of it, Daisy needs to learn that family is at the essence of who we are.
Yeah, I love it, and our chosen family too.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. Not every family is not just blood. Absolutely.
That's right. So take the last few seconds, if you don't mind, and giving our audience your pearls of wisdom. What's the one piece of advice that you would give our listeners to have them learn from your experience?
Oh, my God. And you have to understand that we're recording this in, May 24th, 2022. We're still coming out of COVID. So my number one piece of advice to everyone is be kind to yourself. We have been so hard, and I can speak from personal experience. I have been incredibly hard on myself because, I think patience is short, and sometimes we feel like we're super women, super people. And the reality is we're not, and it's okay. So just be kind to yourself, cut yourself a lot of slack because you deserve it. And that's the best piece of advice that I could possibly give anyone.
Super wise advice that we can all learn from. Celeste, thank you so very much for joining us today, my friend. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
And to all of you, on behalf of the Latino Coalition, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed our chat with Celeste Carrasco. Please join us for future webinars and podcasts, and please keep an eye out for information on our upcoming Latino Prosperity Summit in Miami, Florida. Thank you once again to Celeste for being our guest speaker today, and thank you again for joining us today. And as always, be safe, aim high, and thrive. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time.